Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are just going to take 1 more minute to allow some more attendees to come in. So just sit tight, excuse me. And one thing I will ask, and I'll mention this again in a few minutes, if you have a question that comes to mind during the event, I ask that you please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen as opposed to the chat feature. You should see both. The Q&A has 2 little chat bubbles and chat has 1. The Q&A is a little bit easier to monitor on our end. So if you come prepared with the question you would like to have answered, please use the Q&A feature. Thank you. All right, we will get started. Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's virtual chat. My name is Shannon Lully. I am the Assistant Director of the Fordham Fund for Family Giving and Engagement. I am also a proud graduate of the Rose Hill class of 2016. We are very excited to be offering this webinar today with our summer session dean, as well as other assistant and associate deans from across the university, to answer any questions that you have regarding the summer courses offered at Fordham and this new 2 free course model that was announced in September. We will be answering the questions that you all submit with your registration. But like I said before, if you have any questions that come to mind during the event, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen as opposed to the chat feature. It's a little bit easier for us to monitor. We will do the best that we can to answer all of them, but if you do have a question that is unanswered, I will be sending a follow-up email a little bit later today with some key takeaways, as well as a recording of the event. So please feel free to respond to that email with your question, and I will do the best I can to get it answered for you. Allow me to introduce our panelists while we are here. We have our Dean of Summer Session, Tara Czechowski, Rachel Annunziato, who's the Associate Dean for Strategic Initiatives at Rose Hill and also a Professor of Psychology, Robert Beer, who's the Associate Dean for STEM and Pre-Health Education, Tracy Ann Williams, who's the Assistant Dean for Student Support and Success at Lincoln Center, Robert Munoz, who's the Associate Dean at Fordham College Lincoln Center, Rebecca Stark-Gendrano, who's the Assistant Dean for Juniors and Transfers at Lincoln Center, Steve Najonic, Assistant Dean for Transfers at the Ability School of Business, and we have a few other members who will be joining us. They're all here to answer all of your questions. Hopefully, like I said, we can get to all of them. But before we jump into any questions, Tara, I was wondering if you would be able to just kind of give a brief intro and touch on some kind of key points for our summer session, how long this has been in the works, why the university chose to offer it. I think it'd be a great start for our parents and students who are attending today.
Welcome to the features of Zoom. I'm self-muted. Thank you, Shannon, for the introduction. Welcome, everybody, and thank you to my colleagues for lending a hand in having this conversation today with our families. I'm very grateful for that and for your help in developing the program in general. So the summer session, I'm going to spend a few minutes going over the schedule as we have it planned and give you a little bit of history about the summer session to help answer some of your questions from preliminarily. Okay. Oh, excuse me. There we go. All right, the past. So summer session is not new at Fordham University. We've been around for about 25 years, and the motto has always been for students to catch up or get ahead. Typically, we've offered 250 to 275 classes, including the graduate courses, and we've tended to focus primarily on core and major requirements. Participation in the summer session has generally been about 20 to 35% within each college. So it hasn't, the the majority of Fordham students don't necessarily take summer classes. And, you know, in the past, we have primarily relied on students coming to campus and living on campus or living close to campus. Although since 2017, we did begin to expand our online offerings so that students not in our time zone or students who couldn't be at Fordham could participate. You know, in general, we've always tried to keep it cool and fun and useful to Fordham students. That all changed in the last 2 years, or in the last year. Last summer, we had to pivot on a dime from offering our on-site classes to an online program so that we could continue to meet the needs of students. This year, we find ourselves in the happy but really unprecedented position of being able to put together a program where cost would no longer be a factor for student enrollment. So this is a timeline of the development of the summer session program. On September 15th, Father President announced that there would be 2 free courses for students who are enrolled full-time in the fall and the spring terms. At the end of that month, we formed a working group comprised mostly of the folks who are in our panel today to help identify what our priorities would be for this coming summer session. The priorities that we identified, we wanted to have relevant courses. We wanted to try to provide experiential components to the classes. And most of all, we wanted classes to be accessible for students in terms of the quantity of courses that we had and the mode of delivery. By the time the end of September by the time Christmas break rolled around, we did manage to update our fordham.edu website, our forward-facing website, but it was not yet available on Banner for student search because that takes some cleanup and detail work that takes time. In January, we began to contact our students about the Summer in the City program, which is our internship program. All along, I should mention, we were reaching out to students to try to assess what they wanted to do. I missed that. I missed my October, November dates. We did poll the students multiple times. First, we wanted to know, what do you want to take? And then seriously, guys, how many classes do you want to take? So that enabled us to put together what we hope will be a helpful program. At the end of February, so a few weeks ago, well, early February, you were contacted about this webinar. And at the end of February, students were sent instructions about how to register for summer. Registration, as you know, will open on Monday. It will continue through the drop ad period of each session. So it's the ad drop date is like the second day of each session. Yesterday, an eligibility email was sent out. We collaborated closely with IT and enrollment services to identify all the students who had taken 12 credits or more in the fall and spring terms. Today is the family webinar, but also this morning we sent additional instructions about course search on my.fordham.edu because summer is a little bit different from other terms in terms of how students need to look for their classes. Okay. By the numbers, this is a breakdown of how many on-campus classes we have versus online. You'll see that virtual means our online classes. You're going to see that the majority of our classes for this summer continue to be virtual so that students can be with you guys. They can be home if they want to be. Basically, I'm a mom. I've got two little girls. I want to have them home with me. So we have a primarily virtual schedule, but we also have some faculty who are committed to being available to teach on campus in our beautiful classrooms at the Lincoln Center and Rose Hill campus. But they will also, all of the classrooms at Lincoln Center and Rose Hill have been equipped with simulcast equipment so that they can be, faculty can be in their classrooms on campus while addressing and serving a remote student audience. So you can see from our grand total here, there's 447 classes. We have doubled the number of offerings for traditional undergraduates for this summer. So we are hopeful that we're hopeful. Let's see. Okay, in terms of teaching modality, I've addressed this a little bit. So the session 1 and session 2 courses, those are 5-week courses. If a class is online, it will be meeting synchronously during the times that are indicated on the class schedule. Session 3 classes, which run all 10 weeks, so run from June 1st to August 5th, are almost all asynchronous. We have a couple of exceptions. The computer science department has some intensive courses where they are offering synchronous sessions during the 10 weeks, but all the others are asynchronous. So that means that students can participate from any time zone. There are due dates, but nobody has to log in at the same time. And that can be particularly helpful for our international students or students who are working. Okay, so as I mentioned, our hybrid on-campus classes will need to be able to accommodate remote students. There's just a few exceptions. We have some lab courses that will be held on campus, and it's too difficult to provide the same level of experience for the remote students. Unless you want fetal pigs at your houses. That might be, but I don't think you do. Okay. And the other priority of this summer session is to try to accommodate all on-campus classes in rooms large enough so that the groups don't have to be split. We lowered the caps on the courses so that everybody could be together safely while maintaining the social distancing guidelines. Okay, in terms of the numbers of courses, this is sort of an overview of the number of courses being offered by each department. Modern languages has a very large number because we offer several kinds of modern languages. And as you probably know, there's a 4-course requirement for those who have the language requirement. Otherwise, we have the communications classes. Everybody needs their philosophy and theology classes, so there are quite a few of those. There will be a lot to see as you explore the schedule. In terms of the program highlights, I'm happy to share that we've put in place some new courses. Dr. Beer, for the pre-health students, Dr. Beer and Dr. Usha Sankar have put together a Foundations of Public and Community Health class that's going to be available at the Rose Hill campus for the first time. The FCRH Dean's Office has put together a Foundations of Research Engagement course that's typically offered as a 1-credit class during the academic year, but they're developing it into a 3-credit class. As I mentioned before, we also have in-person lectures and labs available. If you have a son or daughter who's interested in pursuing law, we have the Pre-Law Institute, which will be offered online in session 2. That's taught by law faculty. In Gabelli, we have a very interesting array of special topic classes that we've never seen before in the summer session. As you can see, we have sustainable reporting. We have a leadership class on community engaged learning. We also have a FinTech class. And as always, we have a consulting project where students are grouped together to work with organizations in the Westchester, New York City area, and they do a marketing project for them. Another highlight of our program involves the visual and performing arts. We've added a number of courses. We've always had the musical theater intensive, but this time, last year we had to cancel it because we didn't know how to pivot that into an online environment, but this year we do. And we also have a new program director, the musical theater instructor, who is John McDaniel. He was the guy who, he was a producer and composer for the Rosie O'Donnell show back in the day. He's working on other projects now, but that's how I knew him. We also have a new class in cabaret performance in session 2 that will take place online. And for the first time, we have classes like sculptural methods and film and video 1, which you can see is available online. In terms of how to find the schedule, you can get course descriptions and a layout of all the classes without having to do too much searching on the summer session website, which is fordham.edu/summer. But the way that your sons and daughters are going to be looking at the schedule and registering is my.fordham.edu. Again, they were sent instructions and hints about how to do searches for summer this morning. So they should be all set for Monday, March 8th. And yes, I wanted to lay out the what I expect moving forward in terms of academics. The registration will open March 8th. They will have a week to register prior to advising holds being put in place for fall. At that point, when the advising holds go on, they'll have to talk to their advisors before making further changes to their schedule. I also expect, I think that we are going to need to poll the students. We're going to send out a survey in mid-March to ask the students and assess, how did we do? Did you manage to register for 1 or 2 free classes, whatever you wanted to take? Do we need more sections of anything? And then between March and April, we can add those sections to try to accommodate anything that we might have missed. Yeah, that's what that means. And then, so now that wraps up my presentation of the summer session schedule. So we're on to questions from you.
Thank you, Tara. One quick question we got in the live chat. Is it okay if we share that presentation with parents in the follow-up email so they have all that information?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So I'll touch base with you, and then parents, students, you should be able to see this presentation in my follow-up email that I send. So thank you for that. We will jump into some some pre-submit questions. We have quite a few, and I'll try to direct them the best that I can. I'll start here with Tracy Ann Williams. We have somebody ask, how many summer courses do you recommend a student take in addition to the 2 complementary courses? Do you recommend a student take additional courses in the event they have credits they need to make up?
I feel like that's a trick question. I recommend that they take 2 courses. I mean, there are cases where we will allow students to take more than 2 courses, but that's a conversation to have in consultation with your class dean. It's not recommended though. The classes are very intense. They meet multiple days a week for longer periods of time. So what I say to students who are interested in summer classes is, I guess somewhat facetiously, if this is all you're going to do, if you're not going to see your friends, if you're not going to bathe, if you're not going to take care of other parts of your life, then maybe you can take more than 2 classes, but I don't typically recommend it.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question, this can be answered by Bob Bignot or Steve Nijonic. Can you retake a course from the spring semester, or I guess maybe the fall semester, over the summer?
I can take that. The policy regarding repeated courses has not changed. this year, either due to COVID or because of the summer. The rule is that a repeated course only counts once towards the 36 courses and 124 credits needed for graduation. The grades, however, both courses, the grade would count in the GPA. So it's usually not that favorable for a student to repeat a course because of a bad grade. It doesn't help them that much, but it can be done. You will need an override in order to register for a course that you've taken before. The dean must put you in there because Banner will block registration for a duplicate course.
Great, thank you. Another question kind of along that same vein. Can the summer courses be taken as a pass-fail and still get full credit towards a degree? I believe maybe Robert Mignon could answer that one.
Okay, I can take that one too. Well, like same as for the duplicate courses, the policy on pass-fail is the normal one. We only changed that rule during the spring 2020 when there was a sudden pivot to online, and we felt that it would be kind of unfair to the students to change the game plan in the middle of the semester without giving them some options. And so the decision was made to allow pass-fail courses to count towards core or major during that semester. And that was done also in a number of other schools. So it's kind of, it went all right, but in the long term, it's the problem that other institutions are not required to recognize pass-fail grades in terms of applying to graduate school and so forth. And so the rule is back in place for last fall and this spring, and for summer, the pass-fail courses can't be used to fulfill core or major requirements.
Okay, great, thank you. Moving to a little bit more of a major specific question, we had quite a few of those, and this could be answered either by Rachel Annunziato or Robert Beer. There are some questions about research opportunities. Will there be research opportunities over the summer? Will they be live with faculty, or will they kind of be taking place in that hybrid environment as well?
Hi everyone, sure, I can take that question. We have quite a few research opportunities in person right now, and we expect that to continue even more so going into the summer months. Our summer research program was actually opened even last summer, and faculty were able to provide virtual opportunities for engagement. But now things are opening up even more. My lab is opened in the psychology department. It's been really quite exciting for us. And then, as was mentioned, there's also the Foundations in Research Engagement course that could be a way for students to gain their first research experience with a goal of participating in project implementation and also dissemination.
Sounds great, thank you. Kind of a more general question, so maybe Tara, you could be best to answer this. Is the modality for each course chosen by the professor, or is that something that your office had kind of predetermined before the course selection was available?
Well, hopefully the modalities are pretty much set at this point, and yes, they were chosen by the professor. We laid out the list of options, and since we know that it's a priority to accommodate students wherever they are, we didn't force faculty one way or the other.
Okay, sounds great. Definitely makes sense.
But there are guidelines, like I said,
Right.
Instructors who are teaching on campus need to be able to accommodate remote students.
Definitely. So kind of similar to what has been happening this semester.
Yes, we are continuing the flexible hybrid learning environment for summer.
Great. Another question, and this can be answered hopefully by Tracy Ann. What types of courses do you recommend a freshman take, or a student who is still undecided about their major? Can summer coursework help them in deciding their major?
I think the summer is a great opportunity to begin exploring potential majors, but more specifically, you can use the summer to explore the course. So if there were courses that you didn't take, for example, you took fewer courses in the fall and the spring, it would be a good opportunity to take courses in the summer to get ahead. But the core, and in the best presentation of the core, is available so that you can explore the curriculum and discern what you might want to study outside of what you think you might want to study. So I would encourage students to really dip their toe into different kinds of courses that are available in the summer, because it really affords you a great opportunity to be able to do so.
Sounds great. Thank you. Another question, this was one that actually came in quite a few times from a number of parents, and Tara may be best to answer this. Are seniors, so class of 2021, able to take advantage of the 2 free summer courses? And if they are, does it just count as having graduated with extra credits over the requirement?
Yes. Okay. So let's begin with the answer that yes, seniors are eligible to take classes. It's a little detaily. Seniors who are planning to graduate in May will graduate in May with the undergraduate GPA that they earned prior to the summer. And all of the course fulfillment statistics, in terms of, all of the major minor course fulfillment will be preserved based on everything that they did prior to this coming summer. Their records will become like non-matric students for the summer, so that, they don't have to worry about how the summer session, if they choose to take a class for a regular grade, they don't have to worry about how that's going to impact their undergraduate GPA. That's for students who are graduating in May. Some students we're finding are opting to push off graduation until August so that they can pick up a minor, like maybe they're 2 courses away from their Spanish minor. So in that case, what will happen is that those courses taken this summer, since they're not graduating until August, those courses would be counted towards all their credentials, and their GPA would be affected by those classes.
Okay. Definitely makes sense. And to the parents listening, if you didn't catch all of that, I will be including all this in the follow-up email, so do not worry. Another registration question. How will the registration process work? I know, at least when I was a student at Fordham, and I'm assuming it stands now, there's I'll use the word priority, certain students register first and kind of trickle down that way. Is it the same sort of registration process for summer, or is everybody going at once?
Everybody's going at once for the summer session. That's usually, that kind of priority registration is, it's partly a technical solution to, it's a solution to a technical problem of having too many people overload the system at once, but we're not in that scenario where we're worried about an overload on the system. Everyone who's listening, if you have any problems with registration, if you're if you're not happy, that we're available to help you. Okay. So if something goes wrong, don't worry, just reach out to either the summer session office or your class deans. We're not going to let you be unhappy.
Thank you, Tara. Yeah, so like she said, if you guys have any issues in registration, please don't hesitate to reach out. Everyone's here to help you. Pivoting to another specific, more major interest-specific question, maybe Rachel Nunziata or Robert Beer could answer this. Could you explain a little bit further what lab courses will be available, and if the lab, if it holds credits, is considered one of the 2 free summer courses if it's attached to another, like a lecture class?
I can take that question. So there were 2 parts to that question. There's a variety of situations with the labs. So yes, labs will be open. There are going to be some in-person labs that are offered as hybrids. I suggest that you look at the summer session schedule specifically will list whether the modality, whether it's hybrid or online only for a particular lab. And it's, I think the best thing to do is to pay particularly close attention. If it is hybrid, it should follow the general guidelines of the hybrid flexible learning environment, so that, there would be an option to learn remotely, if needed. But I think it's very important to reach out to the summer session office to confirm that for a particular class. The second question, could you repeat that again, Shannon?
Sure. If the lab also holds credits,
Yes.
is that considered a free course as well?
It is considered a class. So there are two, and Tara can confirm this. There's a lab is considered a class. I believe the understanding and agreement is that two classes, would count towards those that are going to be free. So if you took the lecture section and the lab that accompanies the course, those are two classes, and so those would be free. If you were taking a sequence, for example, let's say, biology lecture and lab 1, and then biology lecture and lab 2, even though I put the and in there, that's a total of 4 classes. And so the first 2 would be free, the second 2 would have to be paid for.
Actually, I just want to clarify that the way the program is being written, that's going to be applying waivers, it will automatically update to waive the highest priced courses. So if you're taking 2 4-credit lectures and 2 2-credit labs, it's the 4-credit lectures that are going to be waived.
Okay.
Right. Thanks. That's a great point. So, that way it'll, reduce the cost as much as possible if you're taking a sequence.
Great. Thank you both. Next question, kind of a long-winded one, and maybe for Dean Mignot. We have a parent who said their student is a junior who can graduate early if he takes 5 classes this summer. If he takes advantage of the 2 free courses at Fordham, can he transfer other classes from other 4-year schools if Fordham does not offer what he needs to fulfill his graduation requirement?
Okay, there's actually a lot of problems with that idea. Taking 5 courses in the summer is not advisable. We have a rule that students can take a maximum of 8 credits, typically 2 courses during the summer at Fordham. It would be very unwise to try to take additional courses elsewhere. As someone else has already said, the schedule, of course, is very intense. Each, like a 3-credit course, meets for 9 hours every week for the 5 weeks. And so, and then there are assignments due and so forth. The other part of this is courses taken elsewhere. The usual rules apply to taking courses elsewhere. If a student wants to do that, it's up to them. But as I say, given course load considerations, you would not want to do that, I think, with the free courses. But be that as it may, if you want to take a course elsewhere, it needs to be pre-approved. If it's going to apply towards a major, the department has to approve it to apply to the major, and your class dean has to approve it for transfer to Fordham for college credit. And of course, courses taken elsewhere don't count in your GPA.
Definitely makes sense. 5 does seem a lot to handle in one summer, for sure. Another question, kind of a little bit more general, but maybe more registration targeted. Do students have the opportunity to change formats between sessions? So if they choose to be on campus one session, can they pivot to a virtual second session?
Yes.
Great. I know we have quite a few questions, and I know they were answered in your presentation. A lot of parents are concerned if their student is working full-time over the summer, can they take advantage of the summer courses? And I imagine the asynchronous format may be a little bit better for them since they don't have to dedicate a certain time slot during the day if they're working to their class. Does that sound right?
The one caveat I would add to that, I mean, the classes that we do have scheduled, we do have evening online classes available. We have morning online classes available. We've found, an asynchronous format is challenging in the sense that you don't have as much contact with the instructor on a regular basis. And for some students, it's hard to stay engaged. Like you have to look at your own self-discipline and your own learning style and really evaluate and be truthful with yourself about whether you need like this kind of face-to-face interaction. If that's what you thrive on, then, you know, I mean, college is a time to focus on your learning. You know, this is your goal right now is to, you know, to earn your degree and learn as much as you can and engage with your peers as much as you can. So I just encourage weighing, you know yourself, know your priorities before you hop onto the asynchronous course train.
Definitely agree with that. Another question that we got, and this may have been touched upon in your presentation, and I apologize if I missed it, but are these free courses available to graduate students or only to the undergraduate population?
Yeah, it's for undergraduate students. It's for undergraduate students. It's possible for a student who's engaged in a 4+1 program, and that, you know, in those programs, graduate classes double count towards an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree. Those graduate classes could be covered for that undergraduate student. In a normal summer session, and actually even now, those students in those programs are charged an undergraduate rate for the graduate program. So if you have some freshmen, if there are freshman families in the audience and you're looking for a great deal, consider getting them into the 5-year programs. Get another degree for less money. But yeah, sorry. So not to divert from the original point, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm just doing my due diligence based on the questions that were submitted. Quite a few questions surrounding housing. I know I may not have all the answers on that yet, but if you do have any updates on housing, can students stay on campus? Can they not? Would you mind sharing them? And if not, I am more than happy to pass that information along as we get it.
The university is committed that if we have on-campus classes, that there will be housing available for students on campus. I don't have, oh, and I remember there was a lot of meal questions. Naturally, there will be meals, but it's not as restrictive during the summer as during the academic year. No one is required to take a meal plan over the summer if they're living on campus. And the meal system is more the declining balance. It's like you put money on the card and then it's not meals, it's dollar amounts that are charged to the card. So it's more flexible, but it is available.
Great. Because I know a lot of parents have asked if their student would obviously love to take in-person classes if they're available, and it's good to know they will have a place to stay. A question about the New York City Internship Program. I know you briefly touched upon it in your presentation. Does the New York City Internship Program place the students in an internship, or are students responsible for finding it on their own?
Well, part of the experience is learning how to do the job search and to earn the job. So no, this is not a placement program, but you know, Fordham Career Services has an incredible network. They have cultivated relationships where there's they've cultivated opportunities for students, but the students have to apply to them and get into them. But there's a lot of coaching, like our career coaches are very serious. Not only are there coaches within career services that serves all of Fordham, but there's also for Gabelli students, there's an office dedicated to professional development, and they have all the secrets about, you know, what Merrill Lynch is going to ask in an interview and how to negotiate those questions. And so the Fordham students should continue to use the resources that they know are available to secure the internships.
Right, and I will make a little plug for our career services office. If you are a parent on this webinar and you're wondering where you've seen my face before, I have also been putting on webinars for parents surrounding all the resources that our career services team provides to your student while they're students and also after graduation. There is an upcoming one on Tuesday. So if you have any questions about the New York City Internship Program coming from this event and you would like to ask them, please feel free to sign up for that webinar. That is on Tuesday. You all should have received an email. But that is a shameless plug on my end, and I apologize for diverting conversation. We have one question and it may have been answered again in the presentation. I apologize. Is there a cap for registrants on the online classes? What is the average class size for each summer class?
There are caps. So the online class, asynchronous all online classes are capped at 19. The regular 5-week online classes are mostly capped at 25. The on-site classes, those caps, those are mostly below 20. Register early, sign up often. Yeah, they're a little bit lower, like I said, because our priority is to try to not have to, is just keep people together in a class,
Right.
Safely though.
Right. And then kind of after registration, that additional student survey will be sent out and your team will kind of get a feel for what was missed, what wasn't missed, and kind of regroup from there.
Yeah, we'll regroup from there and hire new faculty if we need.
Yes, I know you guys are doing such great work though to kind of launch this for students. Let's see, we just have a lot of like major specific questions. I know you mentioned it before, but are all, so from entry level to the final level language classes available? We have some people who are looking to finish their language requirements over the summer.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Yeah, they've done a great job in putting together the schedule, the departments. Yeah, you can get your language done.
It depends on the language, of course.
Mhm.
It's I've looked at it. They're offering core completion in Mandarin, French, Spanish, and Italian. But if you're doing Arabic or Russian, those are not, or Japanese, those are not offered.
Good to know. Let's see. Another question for Robert Mignell while you're here. We have somebody who asked, will it be possible to get the science courses that satisfy the core liberal arts requirement over the summer?
Yes, there are several of those, quite a few of those are offered in the summer.
Okay, great. And then another question, a little bit more specific, the calc classes this person is specifically asking for calc 2. Is that offered over the summer?
Yes, that's offered during the summer as well. I should say the courses are live in Banner. That is the same course tools that students use to look up classes for registering for fall or spring work also for summer, and the courses are visible there. So if you have questions about specific courses, that's where to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would encourage parents, when we send you the presentation and stuff, you can see all that information, but your student definitely has in their Banner account all of the courses listed. So if you kind of want to peer over their shoulder and look through that with them, you are more than welcome to. Let's see what other questions we have. Are there courses that will be available that fulfill more than one requirement? I know like the EP courses sometimes require more than one, or satisfy more than one requirement, but are those options available as well?
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, great. And then this question is a little bit more, I guess each person's opinion could be different, but how do you recommend building a schedule with the 2 free courses? Do you recommend a student take one in the first session, one in the second session, or kind of double up, or is it really just a preference to the student?
I'll take this one, Shannon. I think it really comes down to the student and how they, feel they're handling the coursework, partly. If they feel that, the online environment has been a struggle, they probably want to spread it out over 2 sessions. If, on the other hand, also if they want to work at the same time, they might want to spread it out over 2 sessions so they can also fit work in during the summer. some people want to do it all at one time and get it done, but they also feel comfortable with that type of environment. 2 classes in one session is about the equivalent of a full load during the semester. So they do really need to be cognizant that if they are going to do 2 classes in one term, they're not really going to be doing anything else. They shouldn't be working or anything else because they really need that time to do their assignments and their readings as well as the classwork.
Definitely understood. We had a question come through the chat, and I'm not sure if anybody has answered it yet, but what are the withdrawal dates for each of the summer session?
Those are on the calendar, which is on Fordham, www.fordham.edu/summer. It's the first link, it's the calendar. Usually it's about 3 weeks into the session.
Okay.
But that's not the drop add date. The drop add date is the date where the course comes off without it ever having appeared on your transcript.
Right.
And that's
I think that
one
was,
day in.
would you mind just explaining the difference between withdrawing and the add drop period, just for the parents on the call?
Sure. Add drop is when a course can be taken off the it's as if the student never registered, and it's full not that it's less relevant, fortunately, this semester, but it's a full refund at that date. Once you get into the withdrawal period, that is the time where where a W would appear on a student's transcript next to, in the place of a grade. And it's a graduated refund schedule. Like I said, less relevant this semester, this coming summer, but for future summers. By the 6th class, after the 6th class, there's no more refund available. And then after, like the end of the withdrawal period, this is the point at which if your student stops attending class, or they just withdraw, the grade of WF appears, and it actually impacts the student's transcript as an F. So you want your student to take action by the withdrawal deadline.
Thank you. And for the parents out there, for a date, the summer 1 withdrawal date is the 14th of June. And the summer 2 withdrawal date is the 20th of July. And I will include those dates in the follow-up email for you, but just so you have them in front of you right now. Somebody also live in the chat responded to my plug about the career services webinar. And yes, I will include that information in the follow-up email as well. If there is a student who is doing the New York City internship kind of program, are they eligible to stay in Fordham housing? This may not be a question for you guys, but it did come through.
Fordham students are eligible to stay in housing, full stop. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think a lot of parents are just confused with what is and is not available, this time of year. Let's see what else we have. We've actually moved through these questions much quicker than I thought we would. We had one question that was asked numerous times. I know it's been touched on once before. Robert Mignot touched about it, but would you mind just mentioning again how the summer classes are going to affect the students' GPA? It factors in as a regular class, correct?
Yes, so the summer classes are Fordham classes. They count the same as courses that are taken during the semester. They'll be included in the GPA. They'll count towards major and core requirements. And about the core, it's regardless of the student's college. If the course is a Rose Hill course and you're only considered a student, it'll still count for the core. And we're not putting college restrictions on the core courses.
Okay, great, makes sense. Another more science-related question. So either Rachel or Robert Beer, if you want to answer. The student's asking, can I take a Chem 2 lecture and recitation in one session and the lab in another session to kind of lighten the load?
That's a difficult question. It's probably taken on a case-by-case basis. Generally, the answer would be no. You would take the lab and lecture the same time. But I think you can direct that to actually the department associate chair for further, clarification. You know, there may be circumstances, you know, because I don't know what they are, where, you know, that would be necessary, but generally the answer would be no. General chemistry, well, actually, one of the issues would be is whether the class is offered or not, come to think of it. So as I think this through, if you take general chemistry, I don't know what they're trying to do, but the student specifically should reach out to me and then I'll try to help them with it. How about that?
Sounds great. Easy enough. We had a question submit. Is there going to be more than one section of each class offered, or is it just one per session?
It depends on the class. I mean, something like philosophical ethics, which is part of the core at all undergraduate colleges, has many sections. Whereas, you know, a major course, you know, an upper level major course, there might be only one section of that, just as there is during the academic year.
Mm-hmm.
If I could just pipe in, I'm Andy, I'm the Associate Dean of Enrollment for PCS. An easy way for parents and students to just browse around to see what courses are available is to go to the summer website, fordham.edu/summer, and it's divided up. You could look by summer session 1 versus summer session 2, morning classes versus afternoon classes versus evening classes, courses by subject. So that can give you an idea of like what classes generally we're offering. But then when the student goes in to register through my.fordham.edu, that will have the most accurate information as the slots get taken through Banner. So I think that the summer site's pretty easy to navigate. And then when you go in for the nitty gritty, go in through my Fordham.
Great, thank you, Andy. And I will be including that link in my follow-up email as well. So parents and students, you have time before Monday, before registration starts, to kind of sift through that and see what you think would work best for you or your student. We have answered quite a lot of questions, and I want to thank the panelists here who have really tackled the live Q&A. You guys have really been great answering those questions. Thank you, everybody. I know we have, believe it or not, we have no more questions that haven't already.
Oh, there's actually a few in the Q&A, and I.
Oh, do you want to tackle them?
Yeah, we can. There's a couple here about housing, and I accidentally, yes. I actually accidentally clicked that I would answer it live, even though I want. So I will. It's are Rose Hill dorm rooms available for summer session students, even though most classes are virtual? My understanding is that yes, even if your son or daughter is going to be, you know, taking virtual classes, yes, they may live on campus.
Yes, and I'm sure there will be kind of more information about applying for housing and kind of that process as we get closer to the summer session. But bigger picture, if there are in-person classes available, there will be housing available as well as meal plans. So like I said, you guys can stay tuned for more information on that. Our office is, or my office is a lot of times in charge of sending those communications out to parents. So once we know that a student has received it, we will do our best to turn it over and get it back out to you guys so you have it as well. If anybody has any other questions they would like, or any panelists want to take any of the questions in the chat, the pre-submit question list has kind of been run through. If not, I can give everybody a couple of minutes back in their day.
Okay. I'm going to run through the open Q&A if people still want to hang on. Okay, somebody asked about the cost of housing. If you look at the summer session website and go in the registration and housing section, under housing, you can see last year's rates. If there's going to be an increase, it's usually 3%. I'm not sure that there will be. Housing will come out with more information about rates later this year. But in general, like I have the amount right here from last year. So at Rose Hill last year, it was $10.90 per session. And at Lincoln Center, it was $12.97.50 per session. We don't know the answer about whether or not students are going to have to move out. Wait for housing. They're aware of this issue. I'll put it that way. The provost is aware of this issue.
that also applies to the people who are asking if their student is taking summer 2 courses, can they stay in their dorm for the
yes.
fall? So
Oh, to the fall, yes.
Yeah.
They are aware of this issue. So that's the best we can do, right?
and like,
That's the best our academic team can do.
Right.
Say, hey, we know they're worried about this.
Yes.
Okay, there's a question about, are all of the classes live, or can the student attend the class at any time of day? That's again the distinction between synchronous and asynchronous.
Mhm.
If your student wants to attend when they want to go, or do their classwork when they want to, that's the asynchronous course.
Which can be told by the fact that they don't have meeting times.
Yeah, there's no times on it. Thank you.
And the last one is another dorm question, which
Yeah,
we
I
do
think
not
we
have.
Yeah, I
answer
think
to.
we answered that. Okay.
All right. I would like to thank everybody on the panel who has joined us today, taking time out of their busy schedule. Like I said, I'll be sending a follow-up email with some key takeaways from this event and a recording. So if you want to reference it back again, please feel free. If you have any questions that were unable to be answered, please respond back to the follow-up email that I'm going to send, and I will do the best to answer it appropriately. And like we said before, any housing related question or a little bit more specific like that is out of the control of the people on your screen, I will do the best to get you that information as well once I have it. So thank you so much for joining us. I really hope you found this informative. We're so grateful to this team for offering this to the students. And if I don't hear from you, please have a great weekend. Continue to stay safe and healthy. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Shannon. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you.